I think Humpy must start with her normal game, just play her normal game. It's fair to say that Wesley is the big favourite here, being much higher rated, but Humpy has been playing some great chess. I just hope she moves a little bit quicker at the start of the game. We see a Queen's Gambit on the board, and a very traditional Queen's Gambit. This is one of the oldest positions recorded in chess, one of the oldest openings, and this bishop move also a very standard way of playing.
Yes, this has been seen time immemorial. And I was wondering when Wesley was planning to shake things up, and here it comes with capturing that pawn in the middle. And Humpy playing very carefully there, just stepping forward one square with that pawn. And I'm now expecting her to capture a pawn that's up for grabs. There you go. And both players starting with some very high heart rates. Wesley with 143, that's pretty high, and Humpy 139.
Yep, and they're both developing very sensibly, but you're right, Ivanka, look at those heart rates. They're obviously still quite nervous, understandably, in this gladiatorial arena. Wesley playing a very safe setup here, just developing his pieces, getting a symmetrical position. Humpy is in no danger at all at the moment. She must be a little bit better because her pieces are better developed. She's now castled her king, but she's got to try to convert these very small advantages into something a bit more tangible. Will she move the queen, bring her rooks in? She brings her rooks to the open files. This is good play, and very solid start from both sides here.
It is definitely solid, but I have to say one thing that is a trademark at the minute is how quickly Wesley So is playing, whereas Humpy is almost 1 minute down on the clock. So I'm expecting Humpy just to connect the rooks, overprotect that bishop, and there she goes. But Wesley not in any trouble. I wonder whether he's gonna actually also step forward with his queen and just clear the way for the rooks in the middle of the board. And you can actually track the advantage of the players by looking at the dashboard background. And if one color dominates, well, that means that that side is winning. And there we see, with that knight foray to the edge of the board, Wesley has traded off a set of bishops, which means that the queen now occupies a good square and the rooks are connected. Wesley is one of those pragmatic players. He's happy to draw with black and win with white.
He is indeed, yeah. I mean, I would have thought both players would be quite happy with this middle game. We're now in the middle part of this game because Humpy's style is very positional. She can, of course, play great tactics, but she prefers a quieter game. She's got that with the white pieces. But Wesley is probably not really worse here with the black pieces and has a solid position. And Wesley is so hard to beat. He's a great player, and as they both are, but he's got a position here which is going to be hard to break down. And Humpy now moving her knight to the center, and I'm not sure how either side can. They need to find targets to attack, and that's not very easy to do at the moment, Ivanka. And that last move, well, it looks okay. If Humpy can bring her last rook into the middle and then move the knight forwards, that would be great. But I expect Wesley will go for more exchanges here, and he does. He brings the bad knight, because it's on the side of the board, back into the middle. More pieces getting exchanged. So at the moment, it's looking very drawish. But Ivanka, I do remember Wesley getting a similar kind of position against Sam Shankland and grinding Sam down with the black pieces.
Yeah, he did, and he did it on account of the better squares for his pieces. And there, the rooks both coming into the center, and Humpy now taking care of the king, giving it some air, some places to escape to, and somehow or other you do feel that Wesley is the one who has that slight pull, just because I feel that his bishop is going to be on a better diagonal. And there we see more trades from Humpy, and now black's queen stands on a lovely central square. I'm also expecting that bishop to relocate itself to the c6 square and start pointing towards the white king. And Humpy down on the clock. Look at that, just 35 seconds. This is unwise.
Yeah, she often gets so short a time, and this is one of the weaknesses we're seeing in her play, unfortunately. She plays amazing when she's under 20 seconds, but you can only play to a certain level. And I agree with what you're saying, Ivanka. Actually, Wesley has no problems here whatsoever. If you compare the bishops, black's bishop is pointing down towards white's king, but White's bishop is blocked by more pawns, so White's bishop is a little bit less effective. So Black has a very small advantage, but a massive advantage on the time here. And look at this. Can the queen now come over and start harassing White's king side? The evaluation bar really liking Wesley's position. Very sensible play from Wesley.
Yeah, I mean, Wesley has his choice of moves.
Ooh.
I love your idea of just moving the queen. And look at that, Wesley moving his king towards the center. And Humpy, again, just 14 seconds left on the clock. And Wesley initiating a trade of rooks. What is he planning to do now? And we just see the evaluation bar line up. And is it because of this move?
Yeah, this is a really nasty move, because after this move, where does the rook go? And now the black rook can come flying in. And doesn't that just win a piece? Can't Wesley move the rook to the second rank all the way into White's position, attacking the queen? Has he not seen this move? Rook coming in, attacking the queen. I suppose White can slide the queen out, threatening checkmate. This is the one saving idea that has, but then your bishop comes back to block. Why doesn't that win, Ivanka?
Yeah, I mean, putting the rook on the second line.
Play it.
He doesn't find it, but okay, this is also good enough as well, because now the pieces can all infiltrate. And look at that. Now a pawn drops. Humpy, only 7 seconds left on the clock. She pushes that pawn forward, but that pawn is now a target. Remember, Wesley doesn't take too many risks. And now he initiates a set of trades. Humpy says Humpy has to allow it. And I'm expecting a check.
A useful check there, forcing White to play a move that she doesn't want to play, and she's very short of time. Humpy as well. Black is a pawn up.
He can win another pawn as well.
Yeah.
He can just trade off rooks.
And win another pawn.
And okay, instead he...
This is also very good, winning the pawn straight away. Wesley 2 pawns up. He's played so smoothly in this game, not taking any risks and really just outplaying Humpy. Look at Wesley's heart rate though. It's gone up to 170. He realizes the win is in his sights, and if he keeps his cool, he will take the first game.
5. And Humpy moving the queen to the center. Of course, she still can play on. She still has some chances of salvaging the draw. And now, well, not if Wesley keeps on playing like this. And now some pawns get traded, and White's king is very exposed. And ultimately, Wesley can start marching up those pawns like...
And they're coming. The black pawns are racing forwards. Humpy is trying to create some counterplay in the middle, but Black's king seems to be pretty safe for me. It's the white king which is in more danger. On both sides of the board, White is in trouble. That pawn is trying to become a queen, but on the other side, look at the white king. That does not look safe to me. Put the king somewhere safe if you can. You can't. And Wesley just improving his position slowly. I like this move from Humpy though. You've got to gamble. You've got to try to create some chances, but that king looks so exposed.
Yeah, Humpy is in full-on hustle mode, advancing with the king now. But after this trade of queens, it is all over for Humpy, and she is offering another set of trades. But ultimately, all Wesley needs to do is break that blockade down, and the pawn will be queening. Okay, here comes the second one, and there we see it. Wesley takes the first game. You gotta go for it. Pull that rabbit out of the hat. And, well, no, Wesley opening with the cowboy 1b3, and Humpy just developing the knight. Remember, Wesley had great success in this opening against Sam Shanklin.
Yeah, this is a way to avoid most theory, and Wesley's been playing this quite a bit actually. He's been playing it in some tournaments as well, and Humpy just copying Wesley's tactic. It's called a bit like copycat here, but in order to win, she doesn't really want a symmetrical position. She wants to play something which will mix it up. So she does. She changed tactics here. She pushes the pawn in front of her king, develops her bishop to a different square, and the action in this game is going to come a bit later on, I feel, Ivanka, like in the middle game or maybe in the ending here. And it now looks like an English opening, and even changing to a d4 opening now.
Yes, and now it's a big question for Humpy. How is she going to play with her pawns. For instance, is she going to step the queen's pawn 2 squares forward, just challenge for space? That would be the classical approach. Or is she going to play a little bit more dynamically and open up with just 1 pawn? And instead she's going for a very solid technique, reinforcing the advance of this pawn. This is okay, but it's not the most ambitious setup.
I totally agree with you, and I don't think she's really taken the opportunity to go for those complications, which we feel she needs to. When you're playing something like this, you can see she's created a kind of pyramid, Humpy, in the middle of the board, but it's made her bishop, especially her light square bishop, very bad. Look at black's light square bishop. It's got 2 pawns in its way. Now, white's bishops aren't fantastic, but they have more potential to open up. White has a pawn break, which he's preparing to play. He's preparing to play e4, move that pawn next to the queen 2 squares, which will open up both of white's bishops here. So, and the time, again, this is also so important. Wesley's pace of play is really good. He's keeping that pace up to a very good momentum going.
Yeah, and well, this is crunch time for Wesley. Is he going to push that pawn in the middle 2 squares and create chaos in the center? Well, he decides he's going to build it up for the time being. And now will Humpy break out? No, she connects the rook. I mean, both sides playing in a very cagey way. And finally, there is a breakout. Wesley so breaking in the center.
And this is the move I mentioned about getting those bishops into the game, trying to open up the white bishops. And this is what you want to do when you have bishops. You've got to give them lines to attack on. And we see some exchanges. So Humpy kind of loses that main point of the pyramid there in the center. But she's still very solid here. But being solid's not going to be enough to win. And that time as well, she's over a minute down already. And I must say, I feel that white's got a little advantage here. More space. You can see white's pawns are further up the board compared to black's pawns. Having more space, again, it's like that battlefield analogy where you can maneuver your troops to better positions. They have more air to breathe with more battleground for them to move to.
Yeah, definitely. And Humpy just thinking a bit, how can she unbalance the position? It's going to be very easy, but she breaks out now, liberating the light squared bishop. And now the question is on Wesley. Is Wesley going to reinforce that knight? Is he going to make some trades and then try to eliminate everything from the board? In which case that would be very handy if you wanted to get a draw.
I like that move though from Humpy. I mean, as you say, that was a good aggressive move as well. And Wesley could even try to start an attack here by moving a knight over to the right hand side. But no, Wesley going in the center, and as you said, Jovanka, exchanges might help him get nearer to a draw. I feel with that move he's going for exchanges.
Yeah, and that's something that he can do. He can bully Humpy with the idea of a draw.
That's not very nice.
It's not nice, but chess is not a nice game. It's quite a cruel sport. And there we can see, talking about cruelness, Humpy just over 30 seconds left on the clock, and she agrees to a trade of knights. Ultimately, Humpy is doing fine. It's just whether she can generate enough winning chances here.
Yes, you might have to swap off more pieces here. You could see the knight taking white's knight in the middle, and then the bishops will come off, and you're getting nearer and nearer to the end part of the game without creating enough opportunity. So she plays an interesting move there. Bishop takes, and this is going to probably force many exchanges. Okay, she moves her rook, attacking the white queen. Interesting idea there. The queen simply retreats, and we get those exchanges. And this is why I was talking about Wesley trying to really control the game with the white pieces. He didn't want to take too many risks. He just wanted to keep control, and more pieces coming off. You've got to be careful, Humpy. You've got to keep some pieces on. You need to win this game. You've got to keep some pieces on the board, and I just don't see her having enough pieces at the moment, Jovanka, in this position.
No, and of course, you know, white's queen is magnificently placed there in the center. It's got his eyes all over the board, and Humpy having to make a defensive move, and it is Wesley that is the one pushing hard for that plan of improvement. Okay, so Wesley now retreating the queen, attacking that pawn on the right side.
Well, 2 pawns are under attack here. This is actually a bit critical for black. For Humpy, she's had to give 1 pawn up, but if Wesley takes the pawn on the right-hand side, the h5 pawn, it would allow black's queen to come into the middle of the board, and that could be actually quite dangerous to Wesley. Maybe Wesley should just move the king around here.
Or he can even bully Humpy with the idea of a perpetual check. And no, Wesley, he is a fantastic calculator, and he decides he is going to grab material, and Humpy's queen has been released from its cage, and now it's out, and the queen is attacking that pawn on a2. Not an easy pawn to defend.
I thought this was a bit risky for Wesley, Yuvanka. Yes, Wesley's a pawn up, but you've allowed your opponent's queen into the position.
I agree with you there, Simon, but I think Wesley is banking on the black king being in an unsafe position. I think he's thinking that he can lift up the h-pawn 1 more square and then just throw in some checks here and there to dislodge the king.
Yeah, good foresight there from Yuvanka, but it is getting now a bit complicated because we have a very unsymmetrical position. It's a risky position, and you know, this, if the queens come off, I can actually see white being in a little bit of trouble here. The black queen centralizing itself again, the evaluation bar suddenly saying Humpy is better here. So I don't think this is a good strategy from Wesley. He didn't need to take these many risks. And now the queens are being off, and Humpy decides to keep the queens on the board. Look at her advantage, though. It's getting quite serious now. We could see an amazing upset here. The bishop joining in as well.
I mean, I love the way that Humpy has coordinated her forces. And if she could somehow get that outside pass pawn that she has motoring, then she will be doing very well indeed. And Wesley throwing in a check. Bishop steps back to block. And Wesley winning material. But okay, and then... Oh, I thought Wesley was going to play another move. Instead, Wesley overprotects his pawn and Humpy giving some checks.
And Humpy keeping the queens on the board because this will give her more winning chances. And it's still very hard for black to make progress in this position. How does black actually win this? Wesley just moving the queen backwards and forwards, gaining some time. Heart rates very high here. The time very low here. They're both got to play exceptional chess to make sure they don't make a mistake. And here we see Wesley moving forwards on the king side, using his king as well. Is there any way Humpy can create more chances here? Wesley's defended so well at the moment.
Wesley's playing very ambitiously. You know, he's not taking care of his king. If his strategy, or if he loses control, it will backfire and Humpy will be the one winning. And now Humpy attacking the pawn. I didn't think that Wesley needed to do this. And the queen coming in to attack the bishop. A check. Oh, this is so close.
But now what a move there from Wesley. This move starts to create threats against Humpy's king, and that's why she resigns.